it's Leela, the proud Poly Kinky Queer Slut. Today's question is I think you're aware of the mental health impacts of apps like Grindr. What are your thoughts on this? I have so many thoughts about dating apps. There are pros and cons in big ways when it comes to these things. So, first, some pros. Sex is so hard to find for many of us in our communities, and that this I love the fact that like Grindr comes out of like for those of you who don't know, Grindr is an app that is specifically more of a sex hookup app. So it's an app where it's like a dating app, but really with more of a focus on hookups. And it comes from gay culture traditionally. I do understand that women are on Grindr now, but there are more like it's kind of famous as like an app where gay men can go, but it's also straight people now. So and all sorts of people now, but still predominantly coming out of gay culture. So the idea behind Grindr is that it's a dating app with the swipe left, swipe right, but you're basically looking for sex. My thoughts about Grindr are the same as pretty much any other dating app. So I'm gonna just apply this to more dating apps in general. I do appreciate about Grindr that it's a little bit more honest about looking for hookups, and it doesn't shame that in the same way that some of the other apps or like the culture kind of can around other apps. Like if you're but yeah, there's still lots of pros and cons. So one, apps make it easier to hook up with people to find dates. A lot of people have had success with them, and that's positive. On the negative side, myself and a lot of other people have had really bad experiences with dating apps, and have found them to be counterproductive and bad for the brain in a lot of different ways. So I'm going to start with the negatives. So or jump into the negatives, and then I'll get back to some positives. But so anytime that you remove the person-to-person interaction from a scenario, you make it so that people are feel better about being complete dicks. So problem number one with dating apps, and especially Grindr, is that people feel more empowered to just frankly insult people, ghost people, be jackasses. Um, that's something you have to be prepared for in those scenarios, but it still has a hit on your mental health. And especially if you're not getting a whole lot of hits on those dating apps, it can feel really horrible. And it can make you feel really bad about yourself. Another problem with those apps is that people don't read profiles, or they post profiles that are not accurate to what they really want. Maybe it's what they think they want, but not what they actually want, or what they think is going to get them people, not what they actually want. So you can waste a whole lot of time and end up with dates that go badly because people are just frankly not honest with themselves and others. And that sucks. Whereas if you're meeting a person in person, like at a club or through people or whatever, it's a lot easier to suss that out and get a real sense of the person than it is online, at least for me. I also think that there is it amplifies feelings of rejection for a lot of people. So this is something that I've heard from many friends where if you're not getting that hit, you wait for that ding. You wait for that ding on your phone, and that becomes like a trained response. And if you're not getting the dings, if you're not getting the hits you want, that can feel really bad, and it can feel like what you're looking for doesn't exist. It can make you feel more isolated and alone rather than less. And that sucks. That just sucks. It can also, on the flip side, if you're getting a whole lot of hits that are not working out because they're not actually relevant to you, or they're just frankly that factor of like there are a bunch of people out there, mostly cis straight men, who are just liking every picture that comes across, or sending out things like unsolicited dick pics. That feels shitty. It just does. So there are a lot of things about dating apps that can just make you feel shitty, while at the same time making you feel like compulsively addicted to the attention of that dating app. So that's the danger. And that it hurts. It just hurts. And that's why I don't do it, frankly. And I don't do it because I'm fortunate enough to live in a city with some great sex clubs where I can go into those environments and just honestly flirt with people and ask for what I want. That's a luxury that I sometimes take for granted. And I am very, very, very grateful to my city for having that. Without that, I do think that you have more success with kind of more specialized sites, or working through like sex positive groups, or meetup groups, or things that you might find on FetLife or on Poly Kinky groups, or things like that, are good places to meet people in real life. Okay, so let's get back to how to make dating apps work for you. Because for a lot of people, there are very few choices. I have the luxury of saying, no, I'm not going to be on the dating apps. But that's, again, because I have a culture and community here that can help facilitate me getting my needs met in other ways. For a lot of folks, that's not an option. So if that's not an option, and you're really finding yourself where Grindr is the only way that you know to find hookups, and or you just really like that format and want to use it. The people I know who have had real success with it have a few key things in common in terms of how they use it. One, they set aside specific times. So you can use, like, there are features on phones that will snooze apps until you wake them up, or have them only work during certain periods of the day. Highly, highly recommend using those for your dating apps, so that you schedule a period of time in your day where you're looking at your dating app, and aside from that, you don't look at it, so that you're not waiting for that like every single time, so that you're saving the sexy for when you have time for sexy, and when you feel sexy, and when that energy is bubbling out of you, and it's an exciting treat, as opposed to something that's an every moment thing. So compartmentalize, put it in its pocket, and try to approach it only when you want to, only when it feels good for you, only when it's exciting for you, because you'll present yourself better to potential play partners that way. You'll come off as your best self if you're leaning into it from a perspective of positivity. The other thing that people who have had success with this have done is shown their profiles to lots of friends. So you create the profile and, take screenshots, send it to people, get their impressions, especially people you trust. And ask them, how am I presenting myself? If you didn't know me, what would you think? Maybe even have a friend show one of their friends and ask for that feedback, because we're not good at marketing ourselves. I'm kidding. Most of us suck at marketing ourselves. And when you meet somebody in real life, like, all the nuance comes through, but like, you don't know if that picture of you is hot or creepy. Like, it's hard to know these things about ourselves. So if you can get some outside feedback on not just is this hot, but like, what is my profile conveying? And then compare what your profile is actually conveying to what you actually want. And dial it in, tone it in for that. And I'm not saying like list every cautionary tale in your profile. You don't need to like put in there and by the way, if you're into, I don't know, nose picking, I'm not into you because you had a bad date with a guy who was a nose picker. That was totally random, but yeah, they don't need to go into that kind of level detail, but make your profile specific to what you want, and make sure that it's being to the best of your ability. Check with people and see if it's really being perceived as asking for what you think it's asking for. Okay, so then somebody swipes the right direction on you. I don't even know what direction that is. And you swipe back and you've got a connection, got a match. Well, there are a few things to keep in mind when you're actually messaging with somebody about that. Honesty and integrity first. That's the most important thing. But also, being interested is interesting. So this is something that actually is a piece of wisdom from Jiffy Kink at Sanctuary, at the club in my hometown. There's this person there who runs this great like little workshop basically on how to flirt with people and how to get what you want out there while you're dating. And one of the things that they say is like, people find it interesting when you're interested. So we like to talk about ourselves. We are and when people are curious about you, it feels good. So starting, when you're messaging with somebody, be curious about them. Be curious, ask lots of questions, get them talking about themselves. That one gets you more information. You're making the judgment. You're not, well, actually this gets to the next lesson, but yeah, it gets you more information about them. It also shows them that you're interested in them. and that you're interested in knowing more about them and interested in them as a human and not just a piece of meat. And even if you're interested in a one night stand, we still all like to be humans and not just pieces of meat. So, and then it also opens that culture of mutual questions. It invite asking somebody else personal questions invites them to ask you personal questions, and it just makes it easier to get to know each other. So alongside with that, the piece that I was going to say after it makes you interesting and interested and get you more information. It lets you say no faster. If you ask questions, it lets you rule people out, because the thing with dating apps is it's a mass market numbers game. You're getting people coming at you with only the thinnest of filters before they get to messaging you. And a lot of those connections are not going to work out. So reframe what is success to you. People I know who successfully use dating apps for hookups will message 10, 15 people before they find one that actually works out, that's like a good hookup. So, I mean, it's time consuming. It takes a lot of time. And that is one of the downsides of apps too, is that you have to like actually spend time messaging with a lot of people and then politely take yourself out of, let's call it 90% of those conversations before, and maybe 10% actually end up being something that moves forward to an actual date or an actual connection decent enough to get laid. So reframing success for yourself so that you're not feeling like a failure if you have 10 or 15 or 20 that don't work out, because that one that does work out is the point. That is the point. So it's absolutely okay. You are not failing. You are not doing a bad job if you're missing out, if you're getting ghosted 9 out of 10 times. That's par for the course. And be the person who says no. Another thing from that same class that is great is every no should get a thank you, because it's thank you for not wasting my effing time. So this is in this kind of big old market of getting out there and meeting people. It's very important to give respectful no's as soon as you know that it's going to be no, because that way you're not stringing along the person on the other end. And then when people do the same for you, respect it in that way. Respect it as a thank you for not wasting my time. If this is not a connection that's going to work, best to know that as early as possible, because this takes a lot of time and effort. So it's better to move on from that. I just want to wrap up with saying that as you're exploring all of these tools, all of these things, all of these processes, it's all individual. Do what's good for you. Do what makes you feel good. And if you're constantly, if you're trying something and it's not working, don't worry about it. It's not you. Change it up. Do something else, because it really should be something that is fun. Finding sex, exploring partners, it should be something that's fun. And if it's not fun, then I'd encourage you to look at finding other ways to do it. Because I've found that there are lots of fun ways out there. And they might be go to ecstasy dance groups, or they might be, hook up with your local poly community, or it might be go to a nightclub that's a pickup joint and dance your night away. This is recreation, at least for me, and it should be fun. So if it's not fun, change it up. Another thing that I found interesting, I don't know if I'd advocate for this or not, but at one point I knew somebody who set up different dating profiles for different things that they wanted with pictures of themselves. I mean, it was not scammy, but very different approaches just to see what they got. And ultimately they ended up presenting themselves differently on the dating apps than they had originally started, because they found that it was more fun and they were having more fun engagements when they approached with, in this case, it was a slightly more direct and aggressive bent of hey, I just want to fuck hot people. They found that was more fun than approaching with the, nerd dating profile. And that they were making better connections. Ironically, they were making better connections on their jokey, too honest, too upfront, too blunt profile than they were on their more sensitive profile. So that's an isolated example. But playing up your approach And this is good advice whether you're in real life or on an app. Play with your approach, have fun with it, make it fun. The more fun it is for you, the more fun it'll be for everybody else. So those are my thoughts on Grindr and dating apps. I hope this helps. This is Leela, the proud Poly Kinky Queer Slut. Thanks for listening, and you can ask me anything at kinkyqueerslut@gmail.com. Have a great day.